whatever we want at this very start bit, because this is the bit I can cut out.
Right, but you never do.
No, but I could cut this bit out because it doesn't involve having to line anything else up. So if you want to say anything really rude and bad right now, I mean, there's limits. There's certain things I was expecting. Anyway, hello everybody. Welcome to the standard template construct.
Oh, no.
Is that not story time podcast?
Cast, yeah.
We're back. Yeah, the cast. Yeah.
We're a bit later than normal because you rudely had a birthday.
I had a birthday. Yeah. I aged up. What am I now?
You don't look a day over 60.
No. Which was good because it was my 68th birthday, so I'm doing good. Yeah, I had a birthday, and what did I do for my birthday? I did. I got Space Marines for my birthday, like a young boy. It was great.
Nice.
I didn't get a young boy. I got Space Marines, but
you can get anything off the internet these days. You
can, yeah. Apart from maybe boxes of Leviathan, because as of this moment right now,
yes,
I think we're a couple of hours after the Leviathan pre-order launch event or whatever, where everyone was sat in queues all morning. You know what I was doing while they were sat in the queue for Leviathan?
What?
I was fast asleep in my bed, and of course you didn't care.
I didn't. No,
your winters.
Some people get sent this shit for free. Look, I've looked at the stuff and things. So we are filming this, spoiler alert, at the time of the Leviathan box launch.
Yep.
And according to the interwebs, they're still available. So maybe this is the first launch ever that Games Workshop haven't mucked up, ever. It should be lovely.
Okay, the funny thing about this is that this probably is not going to go out today. So
no.
By the time this goes out, we'll probably be sitting in a massive...
Yeah.
No, it looks like they did all right. To be honest, I think they've always done all right on the core box sets. They've always done way too many.
No, in the last one, no, that had to go to made to order because they crashed the website. That's why they did this staggered thing.
Yeah.
That was the last one was bad, and the one before that as well was bad. The last two have been bad.
Which was the one before that? I got Shadow Spear really easily. On
Shadow Spear?
Yeah, which is that? No, which is the one with Jumpy Dudes.
I don't know.
I'm going back a bit. One of the box sets I got really easily, and obviously I got Dark Imperium really easily.
Right.
Because it was like, it's new, and no, that was before everyone got really into Warhammer. That was the box set that got everyone into it. And the one after that, I think it was called Shadow Spear. That was the one that I got easily. And then after that, it's been a bit of a thing. It's almost like Games Workshop have grown in popularity somewhat over the last 4 or 5 years. So
yeah, it's funny that
crazy, but they're a tiny company with very limited funds, so we've got to give them a break where it's due. It's very hard to get products out for people to buy who desperately want to buy them. And as we know in business as well, the hardest bit is, getting stuff for people to buy. That's the hardest bit, right? Having millions of customers desperately waiting to buy your products and not having anything to sell them. Yeah. Cool. How are you in life?
Right, yes, good. Hi. I'm fine, so's my wife. No, yeah, we're doing well over here. Lots of content coming out in the run-up to 10th edition.
Yeah.
My last 9th edition battle report would have gone up by the time this comes out. And I'm still playing the Heresy as well. There's the Heresy one coming out on Tuesday the 13th, and I've got another one in line for Sunday the 25th, even after the 10th ed launch. There'll still be some Heresy coming, so you Heresy maniacs out there, don't you worry.
Yes.
I'm in it on both systems now, basically, but struggling a little bit with 10th edition because it turns out to be quite a wildly different game. in the end. Once you get your teeth into it, it's the battle shock thing, and the core rules, it feels a little bit different, and all the little units and some of the bigger units and some of the really big units, they all do sort of different things now because they all have special rules here or there. So on the flip side, however, when you do play a game, you've got like 10 cards or 8 cards in front of you, and that's all you need to know. There's no looking through there's no 2 hours lost looking through books here, there, and everywhere. But actually writing a list, because there's so many chocolates in the chocolate box, and you want to eat them all at once. It's overwhelming.
But that's good. That's good because previously it was like you got the chocolate box, and there was like 4 strawberry creams in the middle, and everything else was like coffee. Or like the toffee pennies. It was like you got a box full of toffee pennies, and there were a couple of nice ones in there, and you pushed all the toffee pennies aside.
Right.
But now you're saying that the box is just full of all the good flavours, and there's like no toffee pennies in there. Is that what you're saying?
I'm alarmed by the strawberry creams reference. I mean, rate strawberry creams out of 10. Go.
7.
7?
Yeah.
There are 2.
No, they're not a 2.
You don't, in a chocolate thing, you don't want anything tasting of fruit. You want all the chocolates and all the creams and all the caramels and all the more chocolates and all. You don't want strawberry or banana or things like that. That's chaos. That way madness lies.
Yeah, but the strawberry cream is the one exception to the rule, because all the other ones are a bit weird and everything. But the strawberry cream has become synonymous with the selection box of chocolates, surely.
No, the strawberry cream is the rough kid in your neighbourhood that will stab you. The strawberry cream is like you're eating through, and you have the caramel one, and then you have the double chocolate one, and then you have the Oreo one, and then you eat the strawberry cream, and it stabs you in the mouth. It's like, no, get away, you strawberry cream. What you're doing in there? There's no place for it.
I think I've realised what's happened here. I think maybe we're on different levels of chocolate, right? I'm on the go into work and they put down a tin of like Quality Streets or something, or the other one,
right?
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I think you're on like the Hotel Chocolat luxury selection box. I don't know what's going on here, because the strawberry cream is a sought after. It's a sought-after element of that chocolate box. It's not
a sought-after element of that chocolate box, for one thing, and two, what hotel chocolate strawberry? What are you talking about, mate?
I'm just thinking that you must be getting all those upmarket ones that have got really nice, like flavour profiles. Like, oh, we've designed this flavour profile. There are various flavours of cream and toffee and chocolate that melt on the tongue, and then I'm like, oh, you're right, mate. Yeah, the blue ones are gross because they got coconut in them. Do you know what I mean? I think we're just on different chocolate.
I don't know.
Tiers here.
I don't know. I don't know where you get this idea from. Like, I'm from Swindon. I'm swimming in the shallow end of the gene pool here. Come on now.
I know, but you're trying to carve your own place.
Any strawberry cream. It's like Revels, right? I love a bag of Revels. I love a bag of Revels, and then they put raisins. Was it raisins? They put something in them. The raisins one. What is that fruit doing in there? That shouldn't be in there. That ruined Revels for me. I don't think I've had a Revel since they added the raisins in.
The thing is with a raisin is that it's a dead grape, right? It's a grape that's died and has been left to essentially rot and desiccate, and it's horrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
And why would you think? Oh, I know what. I'm going to take a dead living thing and coat it in chocolate and put that in some kids' sweets. That's disgusting. Raisins are awful. Don't put chocolate on them, or yogurt. Don't put that horrible fake yogurt stuff on them either. That's disgusting.
Raisins, fruit, looking after your glutes, going out for a walk. These things are terrible for you. Stay away.
But one big important question there is: do you like the coffee Revels?
Yes.
Okay, me too. There we go. Yeah. I don't like the coffee ones in the other popular brand of I think it's in Quality Street. I'm struggling with my chocolates here. Quality Street's got strawberry creams, isn't it? Or is that Roses? No, shit, Roses. Okay.
Roses are mid. Quality Street is more quality than Roses. There's something about the Roses chocolate. It's not, I don't think it's Cadbury or something, but it's a bit mid-tier.
I think initially Roses was Cadbury, and I do love a bit of Cadbury Dairy Milk, but with all this stuff that happened, I think a lot of Cadbury's chocolates got destroyed by the big sellouts and stuff, didn't they? And then
you can get celebrations. They're good. You know, your mini bounties.
Yeah.
Oh, damn it, that's got fruit in it. But I do like a bounty.
Is coconut a fruit?
Bounty. Is it a fruit?
No.
Or is it a nut? It's a nut. So we
You're
get
right
away with that one. It just infiltrates the fruit bowl every now and then, like a stealth suit or something. It's
It's allowed.
Mint chocolate after eights. You down with that?
I think after eights are like a very high tier confectionery, but I wouldn't eat them necessarily if I'm craving chocolate.
High tier, they're like £1.50 for a box.
No, but high tier in terms of flavour profile, I'm saying. I love an after eight. I love the mintiness. I love the minty goo on the inside.
I'll tell you what, if you eat a whole box of after eight in one sitting, your toilet bowl will know. Try that.
Yeah, no, I can. That's a lot of peppermint oil to just consume for one person.
Yes, mate.
But they're very Moorish. Do you put the sleeve back in?
Again, I'm reformed. I used to do that because then other people can't tell how many that you've gobbed.
Yes.
Because you've got the empty sleeves back in there now. But that's basically like a terrorist attack, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So, it is.
You can't do that. You know, I've evolved. I own up to my sins these days. And
become a better person, yeah.
I just eat the whole thing in front of them, staring at them like this, going...
Yeah. And at least then you're marking your territory. You're making your intentions clear that you're going to eat all these. And it's not the trickery of, I fancy an after eight. Oh, there's loads. There's actually none left. It's an evil thing to do.
Just one left in there in all the things.
Yeah, and you got to hunt for it.
Yeah. Do you remember when a Ferrero Rocher was considered posh?
I still think Ferrero Rocher are posh, by the way. I got some of these for my birthday.
Nice.
And they're really spoiling us. Are they not posh anymore?
How do you eat your Ferrero Rochers?
Oh, I'm disgusting. When I was younger, I used to like break them down layer bit by bit.
Yeah. Like
an onion. I'm having problems with autofocus. Now I just shove it in and consume it.
It's just, you've got to take it apart. You've got to be...
I do like taking them apart. Because you get different... Because once you've got the chocolate shell off the outside, you've got like a wafer ball.
Right.
And inside that is like Nutella and a nut, isn't it? In the middle. And I do like breaking it down to that sometimes. But
yeah. Layer by layer, get through the void shields first. Then you've got to get through the hull. And then you get to the soft gooey bit inside, down to the warp reactor core, and then crunch that in it. That's nice.
Yeah, that's...
There's a way... Yeah. It's a boarding
exactly how I describe it.
Eating Ferrero Rochers, it's a whole boarding action process.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
My favourite bit is the reward. Like when you get to the crunchy nut in the middle, it's not the nicest tasting, but the fact that you've got there is incredible because you've gone through that really soft.
Yeah.
The people, the screaming crew.
Yes.
I love that analogy. That's fantastic. Do you want to look at some questions?
Shall we look at some questions?
Do you want to look at some questions? Because
where did we get these questions from, Warsmith Chris?
Well, here's the thing. There's this little app out there. Not many people have heard of it. It's called Discord. Have you heard of it before?
Yes.
Discord. Apparently, it's really blowing up, and all the kids are using it or something. Never heard of it myself, but over there's actually a whole Discord channel dedicated to Winter's SEO and the channel and the stuff that happens on the channel. And part of that is a little room there just about this podcast. What's this podcast called? The Standard...
Slaps Tall Cheaters by something.
That's the one.
Yes.
There is a podcast dedicated... There is a channel dedicated to that. You can go on there and sort of a few days before we record these, I do a little tag on there to everyone. I say, hey, everybody, we're going to do one of these. Do you want to ask some questions? And we will answer them on the episode. We'll discuss them. They're not, they're discussion points sometimes. And
sometimes people actually ask questions rather than just throw insults and things.
They do, yeah.
And answer their own questions. That happens a lot.
Yeah. And sometimes the questions are so bad that I just scroll straight past them. I don't even give them the time of day. Cruel, I know, but
there's a quality standard. But thank you to all my channel members for asking questions in the Discord. And if you'd like to get involved with this podcast, then become a YouTube channel member, and you can come involved in this podcast.
You can come involved in this podcast.
If you get past the Warsmith Chris quality check thing and hate strawberry confectionery.
Yeah. Now, one person who asked the question has passed the quality control thing, but they have actually said something in there that is an automatic fail in my book, and I will be addressing this when we get there, okay?
Yes.
And for the future, if anyone else does this, it will be an automatic fail, no matter how good their question is.
You must highlight these things. Otherwise, Otherwise, there'll be no improvement, right? You've got to wave a red flag.
If anyone watched the previous podcast I did with DZTV, they'll have heard many times me saying that this is an automatic fail.
Right.
So I've got to give the new kids on the block a chance as well. But if you're one of the old viewers and you're doing it, then you know what you've done wrong.
Yes.
Anyway, let's have a look at some questions, shall we?
Let's dive in.
We've got a nice mix of questions here. We've got some silly ones. We've got some interesting ones to sort of talk about, and we've got some
interesting ones.
Yeah,
I don't believe you.
Should we start with? We should really start with someone who deserves it, not this monkey. There's a guy called Monkey on there who's asked a question. We'll come back to him later, I think.
Okay.
He doesn't deserve first place.
No.
Let's have a look. We've got a little question from Sam N to kick it off. It's a bit of a what if. What do you think? It's who do you think the chapter master of the Minotaurs is? For example, a custodian, a space marine, etc. I think it may be Arik Tyrannus. He seems to be the best fit.
The chapter master of the Minotaurs is known, right? Isn't it Moloch, some guy?
Well, according to Sam N, it's not known. So,
but he's in a book and everything, and I think his model used to be available from Forge World.
I think something's gone terribly wrong here, Sam N.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's in the Servants of the Throne book. There's a really good bit where there's the Custodes is one of the main characters. This Custodes dude is one of the... Because this is the story timecast. So the Custodes dude is one of the main characters in the book. Minotaurs turn up, and the Custode... in one scene, he's eyeing up the chapter master of the Minotaurs, which is why I know that the chapter of the Minotaurs exists. And he's eyeing it up, and he's thinking, he's seen other Space Marines, and he's seen other chapter masters before, and he thinks he can have them. That Dante ain't all that. Calgar ain't all that. But this guy, he was like, I don't know if I could take him.
Yeah. They're a bit rough, aren't they? The Minotaurs.
I
think that's why the rough lads tend to play them.
Well, the rumor is the lower level lore. The rumor is that their gene seed is actually World Eater's gene seed.
Well, that would make a lot of sense, wouldn't it?
No Butcher's Nails, obviously, but World Eater's gene seed, and they work for the High Lords of Terror, exclusively for the High Lords of Terror.
Oh.
They're the only Space Marine chapter that does. All other Space Marine chapters will basically destroy the High Lords of Terror if they get in their way. For example, Civil War in the Imperium has been a thing. The Imperium spends most of its time fighting the Imperium. And Space Marines have often come to blows with the High Lords of Terror. They're supposed to be independent of that body. But the Minotaurs, no, they work for them.
So they've got to be pretty special in that case. So maybe they are. Maybe, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's not Arik Tyrannus then?
I think his name is Moloch.
Moloch.
But,
we'll check this out afterwards. Yeah.
Comment below.
Do the comments, do the things, and we'll find out how terribly right we are, as per usual. Okay. Kaiser. Now, Kaiser's got a familiar tale for us all here.
Okay.
Kaiser asks, or says, my missus is very positive of my hobby. She keeps buying me games and miniatures and encourages me to go to hobby weekends like the Wild West, etc. Is she definitely having an affair?
Well, what did you say at the start? We all know this story. Like my missus isn't wildly enthusiastic about it. Is yours?
So No. Okay.
No.
So yeah.
So
no.
mine isn't having an affair. She's not positive. Yours isn't having an affair. So the ones that are, yes, is probably the answer is yes.
So what you're saying is we don't know this story, and therefore it's probably very bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, she's trying to get you out of the way, right? But this sounds like a win-win situation.
That's
really.
safe. Yeah.
Because honestly, if she's having an affair, she's a terrible person. But so you don't have to deal with her day in, day out because she's having this affair and you're in your hobby. So that's a good thing. She's doing her thing. She's got her hobby. You've got yours. And in the meantime, she's helping fund your hobby. So
exactly.
Sounds like a keeper. Sounds like a keeper.
I'd up the game. Yeah. I'd up the Warhammer train. Get some more in. Train was a bad choice of words. Okay. Rick Shazam Cameraman. Is Fulgrim's Primarch soul inhabiting his clone body, or is it forever lost? That's actually a bit of a spoiler. Sorry, guys. That's an interesting question. It's the same. I'm going to expand on that as well because yes, how much of the Primarchs still exist within their demon forms? How much of their original essence is still in their current the trait of Primarchs? That is.
Yeah.
How much is still there, I wonder? How much, considering you've got people like Mortarion, who are like ghastly, moth-winged poison entities, is he still really in there? We know that when Astartes become possessed, their true personality is slowly pushed down and eventually consumed until it's all demon, no man, right? But the Primarchs have got much stronger souls, so I wonder what we're dealing with there. Are they still in there?
Are they still in there? Well, I don't know. Next question.
We're going to leave it there. You know what? Fine.
Yeah.
No, I want to quickly expand on that. I'd say that.
Why?
Because
you've got an answer.
All I'm going to say is that Primarch souls are definitely next level, right? There's something next level about them. They're gene forged. Actually, I'm going back on that straight away. You know what? Next question.
See, the thing is, it's an interesting question. Like, the Emperor stole fire from the gods in order to make the Primarchs. One of the conspiracy things is. It wasn't just far from the gods. The one thing that he needed to bring the Primarchs to life, and the one thing that they didn't have because they were born in a lab in a petri dish, was souls. So when he did this thing on Moloch to steal, he actually stole souls and gave them souls. Because it's one of the names for the warp is the Seer Souls, right? Mm-hmm. If you grow something in a petri dish, does it have a soul? And so maybe he went and took the souls from the thing. So yeah, that's just an aside. And moving on.
Yeah, I think that would go into a lot of real life philosophy about the quality and quantity of soul.
Do we have a soul?
Does it change? Yeah, is a Primarch soul better?
Yeah,
if it was just taken.
Gingers definitely don't have souls.
No,
do they?
Absolutely not.
No,
absolutely not. You can tell. You can look in there. You can actually see.
Yeah.
Their brains. Because there's no soul mist in the way.
I don't think they're from this planet. Like, like Superman gets power from the sun. Mm-hmm. I think they come here to take over gingers. Like, that's why sunlight burns them. They're not.
Yeah. They're kind of like orcs. I think they're the not 40k orcs, Lord of the Rings orcs.
Right.
The ones that are left now.
Yeah.
Are the ones that adapted and were able to stand it longer in the sunlight, but they still have that weakness to sunlight. Yeah. And they're basically just the leftover of the great ginger assault many years ago, thousands of years ago. And it failed, luckily. Yeah. So if you're a ginger person, it's only a matter of time before you're all gone. And humanity wins. Humans will win.
Humans will win. The alien revolution will be overthrown.
Oh dear. Okay. Archon John always getting involved. I like a bit of Archon John action. Although he plays a lot of Age of Sigmar now, does Archon John? Archon. Is there a specific depiction of a faction or a character where you thought they wouldn't do that, and how would you fix it? I'm guessing he's referring to in the Black Library. Is there any times where we've read about a character or a faction and just thought that it didn't fit with what our view of them was? But
all the time.
Oh, there you go.
All the time.
There you go.
All the time. Well, not all the time, but a lot of the time. I two things popped into my head there. One, The Infinite and Divine, which is a Necron book, which a lot of people seem to love. They wouldn't do that. It's human. They're too human. They're not Necron enough. But then there are a couple of other Necron books, which I forget the name of the one that I want to quote, which does dwell into the fact that they're essentially soulless PTSD things. They're in a bad place. It's much more grimdark. Another one is The Fall of Monarchia with the Ultramarines and the Custodes. It's like that whole thing. Like, they definitely wouldn't do that. But now, knowing what I know from First Lord of the Imperium and the heresy may have been planned all along, then maybe they would have done. It's just, yes is the answer. Yes, too many to mention.
Yeah, but then there might be wider machinations behind it as to why, is what you're saying as well. In some instances,
I love the fact that you said machinations there. That was good. It's like you've been reading.
I do consume words via Audible these days, but it's the same as reading. But I can do it in my car. That's the important thing when I'm driving.
What's your current Audible?
The Andy Serkis Lord of the Rings trilogy, which is incredibly. Andy Serkis is an absolute genius, and every single character, song, word spoken in that book is like perfect. It is a labour of love, you can tell. I thoroughly recommend it. If you haven't, I'm assuming you're saying because you've heard it.
No, I just like Lord of the Rings. I mean, Andy Serkis is a G. That book,
his version of it. No matter how many times you've read Lord of the Rings, in your own voice, it's an absolute treat to listen to Andy Serkis read it, because he is clearly massively in love with the source material and takes a lot of time creating his character voices. It's a little bit influenced in certain places, influenced by the films, which obviously he was in, so you can't blame him for that. But in other places, he has corrected or adapted those voices for his own version, which is fantastic.
And does he do Gollum like Gollum?
Of course he does.
Not that far yet.
Of course he does.
Of course he does.
He does a fantastic Gimli.
Nice.
All the time. Nice. It's a really, really thick Scottish accent. A lot more than what's his name, John something or other from the Peter Jackson films.
Yeah.
And it's good. And he does a lot of really good shouting. His orc voices are incredible. Like, absolutely incredible. He has got such a brilliant monster voice in him.
Nice.
It's good. Anyway, that's what I'm listening to at the moment. Massive sidetrack there. I was listening to Warhawk before that, and I stopped listening to Warhawk halfway through because I really wanted to listen to the Andy Serkis Lord of the Rings when I got my credit.
Have you not finished Warhawk?
I haven't finished Warhawk, so I need to quickly finish Lord of the Rings and then do the other half of Warhawk.
I don't know how you could stop on Warhawk, because Warhawk is an epic book. That is a good one.
It is. It's a great book.
Yeah.
It was not intentional. It's just one of those things that happens. So, yeah. Anyway, that's where I'm at. Right. What were we talking about? We were talking about how characters and things that were different to what we'd expect, and that they wouldn't do that. I personally thought that half of Mortarian's writing was not how Mortarian would be. But, there you go. There's a lot of that, I think.
Okay. Comment below, again, about some of the things that stand out for you. But I think there's too many to mention because we're so invested in the characters.
Yeah.
And because the artist wants to take something in a certain direction, left or right, and also because of the unreliable narrator of the Horus Heresy. Some of the stuff you're told is just lies. So
there's an interesting thing that happens with the Warhammer community, and that is, I think, certain ideas about a legion or a chapter or a clan or whatever type of army you're looking at, certain ideas seem to propagate aggressively, whether it's just like a meme kind of thing,
right.
which then make people think very strongly one way or another about said faction or whatever. And Iron Warriors is a really good example of that.
Okay.
And if you ever take like a Demon Prince or it seems like people have really taken it solidly that Iron Warriors hate, they don't like demons, all this kind of stuff, and they don't use that kind of stuff, right?
Right. Okay.
I mean that's not based on. I don't know what that's based on, because
that would be based on what they were like they used to hate it.
Yeah.
But after 10,000 years, it's a jolly long period of time.
Exactly. The first Iron Warriors fiction that was written, they had sorcerers, they had a demon prince leading them, they had they do use demons in everything. Basically, I see a lot of comments on various sort of army, like 40k fan places like Reddit and things like that, where someone will post an army that they've painted and someone will be them, they wouldn't take those, or they wouldn't do that, or they wouldn't do that. And I think a lot of that comes from something that's been filled in by the players rather than that's been filled in by the narrative.
Yeah, but Reddit is for 40k, Reddit is a shark tank.
Oh, it's a massive shark tank, yeah.
And dropping a comment in there is like dropping in a bit of red meat. So it will get torn apart by someone somewhere saying, not my 40k. But the beautiful thing about 40k is it is your 40k. Play 40k your way. And one of the beautiful things about 40k and the universe itself is they deliberately made it so broad, so huge, that any narrative that you could possibly think of, you can slot into 40k. Though Iron Warriors are not one thing. They are deliberately broken up into many, many, many different warbands.
Yeah.
Some of them are part of the Black Legion. Some of them are in their own separate warbands. Some of them follow other warlords and champions and things like that. And I'm certain some of them out there also never turn to the light of chaos as well. And that's the glory about this lovely hobby that we're in.
Great, isn't it?
Yeah.
Quick anecdote about Reddit while we're here, because I just love saying this when we're here. You called it a shark tank, which is correct. Our lovely stylus,
yes,
obviously has painted a lot of Thousand Suns, and he puts a lot of care into them, and he's a great painter. And I painted a bunch of Thousand Suns, and I hadn't finished them. I hadn't done the transfers on the side, hadn't done the bases or anything. And what we realised was, so we both posted on the main Thousand Suns subreddit, right? And I got way more upvotes. I got way more likes and stuff than Stylus, and we realised that Redditors actually mark you down for fully completing something, because they're so used to not being able to complete their own models that it's kind of out of spite. They won't upvote his complete. They don't pay attention to his completed models. But mine, which were kind of stuck in a semi-complete state, were much more relatable. And he seethed about that, and I loved it, because we all know what Stylus is like. Oh, it's fantastic.
That is a weird one.
But I think he nailed it. I think people really did, out of spite, not like his completely finished models, because they just knew, I can't do that.
You know, if you want to join a warm, welcoming community where there's a podcast and everything, where someone wouldn't ever say, no, you're bad, wrong question, where that doesn't happen. And inside the community where everyone is warm and welcoming, no, genuinely inside the Winters SEO Discord community, it is a very welcoming, warm To be fair, though, we've got like Brap in there as like the chief mod and a couple of other mods, so we have like a really strong ban policy. It's like we try and keep it as There's no politics, there's no religion. It's all about the hobby. It's all about distraction. It's all about what we do, and it's all about celebrating and supporting each other and bigging each other up. And one of the if you've got something bad to say, then don't say anything.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a nice place. There was a comment recently, which is, it was only literally a couple of days ago. Someone said, I wish I could find it now. It's like, I love this hobby, such a positive thing, and and I was like, yeah, much love. This is cool. It's I can't find it, but anyway, I'm just move on. I love my community. Thank you, anyone who's in my community, and thank you for keeping it a clean, lovely. I can't find it. A lovely place to be. A lovely place to have. Move on. Next question.
You want to move on? I want to say that if you want to join a community that is really cool and friendly and a nice place to be, but also moderated by a T1000 Terminator unit, Winter's SEO. There we go.
Who
Winter's
keeps
Discord.
it clean and nice and friendly and a nice place to be. You need that. I will find
No, you definitely do.
You need that.
We all know what Discord is like. We all know what communities get like. There's lots of people in one place. Anyway, Sigh the Infinite. Oh,
yes.
No. It's a funny question. Right, there was the question thread got into a bit of a... Do you remember when we did the accents for Space Marines on the last episode?
Oh, yeah.
It's this one kind of turned into what do people taste like for Tyranids. So the question was, do Tyranids have taste buds? Do they have a preference for flavour? I think immediately no, they just chew stuff up, then jump into acid and melt down. It's all about getting the biomass, right? But then Sigh the Infinite was like, well, let's expand on this. What would Death Guard taste like? Blue cheese, salamanders, flaming hot Cheetos.
Nice.
It's a silly question, but it does get you thinking about stuff. I reckon orcs would taste like vegan meat. You know what I mean?
Vegan meat.
Yeah, it would. Like,
I like it.
Those meat-free sausages are like mushroom protein, aren't they? But they've got the flavour of pork. So I think mushroom pig is the perfect flavour for orcs.
I like it. Yeah, it's perfect. What do Eldari taste like?
Oh.
Like chicken wings, but with no chicken or bone. Sort of, the crispy bits. Yeah.
Bland chicken, connector tissue and
bland, skinny, overcooked chicken wings with no sauce.
Wow, I think you're right. Actually, though, that extra dry, extra flavourless. Yeah, I'm down for that. Whereas the Votan, I think, would be the opposite. They'd be like lovely big chunks of pork, crispy pork belly.
Baked potato.
Yeah, definitely.
Do the different flavours of Tau have different flavours? Like, does the earthy one taste different from the airy one? Taste different from the watery one?
They've got to.
Or do they all taste the same? I mean, they're different physiology completely depending on what caste you live in.
The blue thing is just food colouring, right?
Yeah, basically.
So the rest of it, they can taste like which are the skinny ones? Is that the air cast?
Air
the
ones,
really tall skinny ones.
They don't touch the ground, do they? They're in zero G all the time.
So they've got no muscles. Then they've got no. They've got their muscles must have atrophied, which is why they're so skinny and everything. So they're going to be rubbish food. They're going to be like gnawing on bones, even worse than Eldar. But then you're going to have the fire cast. They're going to be They're going to have a bit of. It's going to be very tough meat, though. It's tough meat. It's
tough, overcooked steak dipped in Frank's red hot sauce.
Yeah.
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 Well, actually, that sounds quite tasty.
No, because you'll just be chewing on the sauce. It's basically just a spoon.
But a proper amount, like tough. It's almost like jerky. Then I'm down with that. Actually, dipped in proper red hot sauce. That'd be
okay.
So you cry and it's
beef jerky in Frank's red hot sauce. Yeah. We could do like a special tasting menu where we recreate all the races. You could come and have a bit of Tau Fire Warrior. Yeah, that's. I think Space Marines you can't eat because they're too genetically modified. they'll be like sweets. It'd be like
right.
They're GMO, aren't they? So
right, yeah. They're probably bad for you.
Bad for you, yeah.
Yeah.
They got too many GM ingredients in them.
Yeah, they wouldn't be. They're allowed in America, but they're not allowed in the EU.
Yeah. They got way too much salt and sugar in them as well.
Yeah.
Space Marines eat each other all the time, though, don't they?
You can't though, because all the sweeteners in there. Basically, in Space Marines will give you cancer.
Yeah. And they're they're like the crisps that you used to be able to get from like sweet shops, like the Space Invaders or the
Frazzles. What has happened to Frazzles? Frazzles used to be proper bacony flavour, and you'd stick about a bunch of, and they'd dry all the stuff out of your mouth. Frazzles were top tier, but now they've destroyed my boy.
Do you know how you get that top tier experience?
What?
And that's those bacon fries that you can get from a pub. You get it's on like a cardboard thing, and you get the lemon and scampi ones, and the bacon fries. They're still top tier.
Okay,
but they're just harder to get.
Yeah. I don't go to pubs though.
No, who goes to a pub?
She doesn't let me out.
Yeah, let me out. Anyway, if you want to carry on with some we've got loads of things we haven't listed flavors for. Let's get a flavor menu going.
Aircast could taste like OG Frazzles. That sort of not Aircast, sorry, Firecast.
Firecast.
Yeah.
OG Frazzles with a bit spice, with like some chili powder on. They got to be a bit spicy.
Yeah,
they could do. Because Tau are going to be quite. They feel like they're not going to be that dense a texture. So perhaps.
And everyone knows that humans taste like chicken.
Yeah.
Because the computers forgot what everything tasted like.
Yeah, and they get eaten by other humans all the time anyway in the 41st millennium. So.
Corpse starch.
The
number one diet on Necromunda is human.
Yep. And there's even a cult. They've even got those corn boys that go there and grind them up, which is lovely. Yep. Really cool. Okay. This is some advice. People have actually offered. It's Ratha Constantine.
Okay.
Wanted some advice about his new guard army. People have actually answered, and I think he's kind of got his answer, but I thought it would be nice to get a final definitive answer from the lawman, from the flat cap, from the big daddy. Anyway, what are reasonable Imperial Guard regimental numbers for someone who is creating a narrative for a new Guard army? And I get why he's asking this, because it can be intimidating, because there's numbers all over the place on the official ones.
Yeah.
Catachans, to be specific. I assume the regimental number 1 would be completely unreasonable to use, but what about 157? Also, do the regimental numbers get recycled or retired? Also, would it be absolutely reasonable to assume the Mechanicum and Catachans would work together if they were on the same world for a prolonged period of time? So obviously he wants to have them allied or something.
Play with each other,
I'll leave it to you.
To answer the last bit first, of course it's completely reasonable. Okay, so I think I said this before. There's a couple of... there aren't very many Imperial Army factions, I don't know what to call them, but army groups that are allowed to field combined arms. So you tended to get the Tanner First and Only, which are only infantry, or you get Steel Legion, which are only in tanks. There are very few that actually can, after the Horus Heresy, allowed to do all different types. And the Catachans and the Deathcore Krieg and Cadians and Vostrom Burstborn, they're one of those that can actually field all bits. Because they've always been loyal and they've never broken. And so subsequently... they are everywhere. The big ones in the Imperium, the proper death worlds that churn out a lot of guard, churn out a lot of guard. Like a good couple of regiments, I don't know what the numbers would be, but Krieg might chuck out like 10 regiments a year every year for the last 1,000 years. That's a lot of regiments. So Catachans are everywhere. They are famous, proud, powerful, thrusting, muscular, greased up, oily, bodybuilders, thrusting bodybuilders that are often on the posters on lots of teenage hive girl bedroom walls, and they are renowned.
Yeah.
So of course they'd have fought with the AdMech many times. Yeah. What were the other bits?
Well, I think the main bit he was trying to get at is how do you? I think he wants to choose a regiment number that's his own, but he was wondering how that happens, because when the regiments get retired? I mean, if you pick one, could it be that the previous, if they were written about in the lore or something, could it be that they've retired and the number is reused? He just wants to know that his custom regiment number is kind of law valid, I think, is the main thing.
Yes, is the answer.
There you go. So you could pick anything, is what you're saying?
It's 40k.
It's 40k. Play it your way.
Yeah. Even if someone at some point said, hang about, that regiment was in this book at that time, and yeah, but this is a reformed one, either before or after, or it's 40k.
There you go. Don't ever get caught out by law. The law is amazing, but don't let it ruin your... I know that a lot of people... There's a lot of, like, genuine, like, feelings when it comes down to trying to come up with this stuff. Because we love it.
There are lines, like, so if you're doing a Codex-compliant Ultramarines list, then there's certain ways that a Codex-compliant Ultramarines list should look, with the red for the Devastators and the white for the veterans and all that sort of stuff. And they're in the codexes. But anything else is good to go.
Yeah. Cool. Well, there you go. Hopefully that helps, Wrath of Constantine. We've had a look at Sam Ends. We've got Badger King. Badger King is asking a question which I believe there's a really quick answer for.
Right.
But let's see, we can expand on it. So why isn't there a Brothers of Battle? Surely there is an equivalent force that could be power-armoured men worshipping the Emperor that aren't transhuman, or part of the Guard in power armour, again not transhuman level of armour, but more armoured than the traditional Guard squads. Don't get me wrong, Sisters as a model range are awesome, just in the universe seems a bit of short-sightedness in the Imperial forces. Now I think someone immediately responded with, they're not allowed to bear arms, the men, which is why the Sisters of Battle is created, isn't it? To bypass that rule.
The Reign of Blood, Gore Van Dyer, the largest civil war in the Imperium after the Horus Heresy in M36. After that, men were not allowed to bear. For the ecclesiarchy, men were no longer allowed to bear arms.
So they went, I know a good way to get around this.
Yes.
They used the Lord of the Rings. You could be killed by no man. Bam! Well, I'm not a man. Gotcha.
Having said that, there is the Guard, then there's PDF, then there's local defence forces, then there's some Lord and some Hive World who's got his own thing, and he might be a real devout zealot worshipper of the church, and his ecclesiastic force isn't part of the ecclesiarchy technically, but they're all religious nutters running around with again 40k. There will be, and in a galaxy where there's literally millions of planets, there will be an exception to the rule somewhere.
Yeah.
But the general rule is, yes, there was a bit of a civil war. Things went really, really badly, and lots of people died. So the ecclesiarchy aren't allowed to do that sort of thing anymore.
Yeah, and you got to remember that a lot of the governing military forces in the 40k universe are there because people are constantly breaking the rules and need to be self-governed. A lot of books centre around a world that's kind of gone off on its own accord, doing its own thing. Yeah. So if you want to do a Brothers of Battle, because the Sisters of Battle models are freaking awesome, so I don't know why you'd want to do this, because there's so much choice for dudes in this. But if you wanted to do a Brothers of Battle, I think you could quite easily do it, have it as a world that's completely non-compliant, and they've been fighting off attempts to be brought down by the Imperium.
Yeah, I think we said at the beginning, like this very podcast, that the Imperium's number one enemy is the Imperium.
Mm-hmm.
The Imperium fights the Imperium most of all.
Yeah, because people are always trying to break the rules and get a little bit more than what they should have.
Yeah.
There was something else I wanted to say about that. There was also, if the other thing I think as well, even if there was a law loophole that meant brothers of battle could be a faction, it is Space Marines. It is like the Black Templars, just because they're boys and they are.
But they're not part of the ecclesiarchy.
No, they're not part of the ecclesiarchy, but there are a religious fanatic group that has the same, generally the same aesthetic as the Sisters of Battle. So it just wouldn't really make sense from any position, any design position, or any.
It's from a general point of view, having Space Marines in Legion size was too dangerous for the fate of the galaxy. That's what they got broken down to chapters for. Same with the Imperial Army, got broken apart. Their army regiments got broken apart, and then you have this non-combined force, which is the most common way 99% of the galaxy functions. So they split apart, and then the same with the Imperial Navy. That was split into the 4 fleets. And then in the fleets you have the 4 subdivisions. So the whole part of the Imperium after Horus Heresy was redesigned in a way that no one single admiral or general or commander could pose the same threat to the Imperium again. And that worked well for 6,000 years.
Yep. Until
the ecclesiarchy grew and grew and grew and grew in power. Before the Reign of Blood, there were a couple of different belief systems. There was one of the reasons why the Reign of Blood exploded, apart from Vandar was a dick, but one of the reasons why it exploded was there was more than one official way to worship the Emperor, the official school of thought when it comes to exactly what was the Emperor's message and what is his plan. Peace, hippies, tree hugging, love, kittens, or was it torture, death, kill, maim the heretic? There's a whole gap in between those sort of ideologies, and they were fighting each other on and off for a bit until it blew into this massive civil war. So the other bits of the Imperial war machine were broken apart, so it couldn't pose a threat, and the ecclesiarchy grew and grew and grew and grew and grew and grew in power. They didn't get that memo because they weren't part of the breaking apart bit. Then after the civil war, the Reign of Blood, then they were broken apart again, and now you have all these sister monasteries here, there and everywhere, and now men were not allowed to bear arms anymore. So it's all part of the plan, basically. That's why we are where we are. So the law reasons for all of this, which kind of makes sense, but outside of the law reasons for all of this, there will always 40k. There will always be exceptions to every single rule that you can think of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I need to apologise to Demogorgon. Demogorgon actually was the initial question: do Tyranids have a sense of taste, i.e., taste buds? And if so, which faction are the tastiest? Demogorgon is the one that broke the rule.
Oh,
because after which faction are the tastiest? No, Demogorgon is not the one that broke the rule.
Oh.
I just misread it. Someone broke the rule. We'll get to them. Winters cannot say space elves.
Space elves.
Yeah, which he wasn't. Yeah, it's a hilarious joke that you're a big space elf fan, isn't it? So
I love space elves.
Yeah.
No one clip that.
That's gonna get stuck. You've just done it. Anyway, that was the first part of the question, and then we did the other part. Okay, Monkey asks a question. I'm going to answer it.
Okay.
With one word, and then you can either agree and we'll move on.
Okay.
And give him limited time, or you can carry on.
Okay.
Do you think they will retcon the Primaris stuff, or just let it slide now that the lines are blurred with units like the new Vanguard vets? No.
Agreed.
Anyway, Pickle Nick. In the Fury of Magnus book, The Emperor offers Magnus a chance at redemption and to join his side again. However, he's given an impossible caveat, the destruction of his legion. Would any Primarch really accept this and give up their sons? Or did the Emperor, in all his scheming, actually plan for Magnus to reject it?
That's you definitely need to put a spoiler warning at the start of all of this, because the flip side of that is that there is another Primarch that was privy to the conversation between Magnus and the Emperor. At the time, Magnus is having that conversation with the Emperor, and Magnus says, "Look what he made me choose," and da-da-da. And the other Primarch says, "That's not what the Emperor said. I didn't see that at all."
Right.
So,
yeah,
like the Emperor's aspect, his glamour comes across different to different people. They put an exclamation mark behind that scene later on in the Horus Heresy to say not only does the Emperor appear how he should appear, like again, go back to the Fall of Monarchia, the conversation that the Emperor has with what's his name? Not Lorgar. Yeah, Lorgar. The conversation that he has with Lorgar and what Lorgar's representation, what Lorgar sees the Emperor say and appear as, is completely different to the other 100,000 witnesses forced to their knees before the... So we had that then, we have that at various other points in the heresy, and then we have an exclamation mark at this point in the Solar War. It says, well, just because the author is literally telling you this is what was said, and this is what was happened, and this is what they were holding, and this is what he was wearing, and he looked fabulous, doesn't mean that those things actually happened at all, because the other Primarch said something else. So to answer your question, did he? Is that what the Emperor did? Did he? Did he? Maybe, maybe not. But then let's take your question seriously. What was the question?
I think...
Was it impossible? Was the question impossible?
No, I think the underlying thing is the Emperor forcing people into a certain way, his sons, by giving them impossible requests and making impossible situations for them and putting them in situations, destroying their favourite cities, doing this, doing that. I think the real question underneath it is, did the Emperor force the Horus Heresy? It's like the bottom when you drill down into it, which I think we're...
Is the Emperor a dick?
Yes.
But you need to be a dick to take over the galaxy. And the ones that stayed loyal, I mean, there's loads of bits in it where the loyal ones are like, well, he's a big dick, but he's told me to do this, so I'm going to do it anyway because I am loyal. And that was the difference between the loyalists and the traitors. Maybe the traitors were more free-thinking. Maybe the traitors were... Yeah, there's lots of criticisms that you could make of the Emperor's plan. But as I said to you before, Smith Griff, it's like a 4-year-old trying to argue math with you or argue with you about planets. The Emperor's been around for a very long time. He knows so much more. So when you say, actually, that's not the way you should do it this way. Well, you're like a 4-year-old talking to someone who's been around for 30,000 years and has seen it done every other way, not just across the life expectancy of planet Earth on Terra, but he's seen it play out a million times in a million different experiments across the million worlds that humanity expanded into across the galaxy. The argument that you're proposing, he should have done this, or he should have done that, he should have done that. The Emperor's probably thinking with his addictive memory, well, there's 1,000 other cases where that didn't work, and that didn't work, and that didn't work. The Emperor's vast knowledge and addictive memory, and the Emperor's vast foresight, with those two things combined, we are encouraged to believe that from the Emperor himself and Malkador, but we're encouraged to believe from the horse's mouth that this is the only way that will work. Trust me, bruv, I got this.
And the other thing is as well is that we're seeing him do this stuff to his sons, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, the Emperor's understanding of relationships between people is so vastly different from our tiny little things. He's responsible for the deaths of billions of people at a time sometimes, and it just we can't apply our little squishy 100-year max human brains to the kind of decision making you'd make and the kind of the feeling you'd have after being alive that long.
And
as
the
well.
Emperor doesn't. I mean, it's from their point of view the sons thing, and from the Imperium point of view the Master of Mankind and his sons. From the Emperor's point of view, he doesn't even see them as his sons. So in the Master of Mankind book, that one, he just calls them by their numbers. They're just science experiments to him. So they're not sons. He didn't give birth to them. He made them in a lab. He painted them.
For reasons.
You know, he painted stuff. So...
Yeah. Dragos. Dragos or Dragos?
Dracoras.
Which traitor character from the Horus Heresy would you most like to have turned to loyalist instead?
Oh,
do you want me to start? While you think?
Yeah, that's a good one.
So this is a little bit cringe, and I'm sorry about this. I'm going to say Sevatar, and the reason why I'm going to say Sevatar is because Sevatar, last we saw of him, was essentially neutral, right? So he's not aligned with the bad side, he's not aligned with the good side, but he is a smart space marine. He knows what is going to happen to the baddies eventually. So it would benefit him more. He'd be able to do more good in the galaxy, which I think by the end of the Horus Heresy, he actually just wanted to go off and slaughter aliens. By the end of it, he could, if he'd have just found a way, which he may have done. You know, we don't really know what happened to him, but ADB's kind of suggested several things. This is all spoilers. You know what? If you watch this podcast, it's just full of spoilers. It's going to be spoilers because we have to talk about things that happen. Yeah. So read every single book and then... Now, these spoilers, you know what? Without the context, I don't think these spoilers are really critical, you know? Maybe the Magnus stuff was a bit more of a spoiler, but essentially, I wish... just for selfish reasons that he'd turned he'd kind of gone, right, let's go and make a concerted effort to aid this selection of people, even though I don't like their leader, and I think their leader is the same as the leader of the other selection of people. I think I can do more useful work slaughtering people, which is built into my DNA on this side, you know, rather than having to kill my own brothers, because he still did have some feelings of brotherhood and things like that. With Space Marines, you know, he befriends a Raven Guard. I could be fighting at Xenos. That's it.
Sevatar is a G, man. He is. His rules in the Horus Heresy game as well. He's scary. He's good on the tabletop.
Good.
He's good in the books. I like Sevatar. I mean, the first name that popped into my head, so I'm going to go with the first one, is Khan. Sevatar and Khan are probably the two coolest bad guys in the Horus Heresy.
Yep.
Khan, when he comes to confront Angron after the Emperor, picks him off the planet, Angron off the planet, sticks him in the Conqueror. Khan is the 8th captain to go in there and say, hi, you're our Primarch, and just Angron. And the other 7 captains, you know, play FF for respect. That bit in that book. And Khan all the way through the Heresy Khan's cool. I like Khan. It would have been great if he'd have stayed loyal. And he was friendly with Sigismund. He was friendly with Loken. He was mates with Garrow. At the top end, when it comes to the named guys, a lot of them knew each other. And then you go to characters like Khan, Tarvitz, Lucius, Garrow. These are all Terran-born. So they were legionaries before they were members of any particular legion. They fought under the Emperor, with the Emperor, before even Horus turned up. So they were mates back then.
Exactly, yeah. And no, I thoroughly agree. And you know, I've got Khan to thank for the Black Templars and their fighting style, and things like that. And I really loved the relationship between Sigismund and Khan as well. So you know, I'd agree with you. Khan would be very far up there on the. Wouldn't it have been cool if he was not a crazy, didn't go full crazy?
Mate, I can hear screaming children
Just
at your end, are they trying to break out the dungeon?
Yeah, I've put 2 locks on it. They're not going to break out, don't worry.
Okay, good.
Feshmon. If Chaos or a Xenos race made a concerted effort to target agri-worlds specifically, could they collapse the Imperium's food supply before they could respond? Seems to me most Hive Cities Forge worlds collapse without massive imports of food, and agri-worlds often are lightly defended.
Yes.
In Lords of Silence, I believe that is exactly what the Death Guard are doing.
Yeah, that's exactly what they do. The answer to that question is that happens all the time. The real answer to that question is, I forget which source it is in.
Corpse Starch.
There's another one in the Horus Heresy. But yeah, Corpse Starch, they eat each other. But generally speaking, most agri-worlds, not all, because Lords of Silence is in there, but most agri-worlds are way inside friendly space.
Right.
Generally speaking. And you'll have... so you only need one agri-world. So here's a system, here's a sun, there's 10 planets round it, 5 of them are inhabited by humans, 1 of them is the agri-world. That agri-world will feed 100 other systems, will feed so many systems. So like the Cadian system, for example, didn't have any agri-worlds. I don't know where Cadia got all of its food from, but they didn't have any agri-worlds in the Cadian system. The Ultramar system doesn't have any agri-worlds. So agri-worlds tend to be deep behind friendly lines somewhere.
Okay.
So it could really hurt the Imperium if they take on the ones that are easier to get to. But they tend, in lots of the lore, they tend to be back end, arse end of nowhere. No one ever goes there. There's a short story where a single Alpha Legion operative, who's not even Alpha Arius, who's not even an Alpha Legionnaire, takes down an agri-world by sowing dissent and disorder in the Horus Heresy. Without firing a shot, he manages to, just through sowing dissent, disorder and disinformation, he manages for this world to collapse into civil war.
Nice.
And part of the reason why he's able to do that is because they're so far behind and away from everything that's happening in the rest of the galaxy in the middle of the Horus Heresy. They have no idea what's going on, and no one ever goes there. They're just these automated packing plants that fill up these containers, that go to these skyhooks, that take it up to orbit and go. And that's all they do all the time. They feed the mill, and no one ever comes to see them.
Yeah.
They've got one astropath on the top of the skyhook that's taking messages from the outside of the Imperium and feeding the odd, like once a year he might have to say something down below. So yeah, it's a good tactic. It's a valid tactic. It's in a couple of the books, but
it's not the easiest.
It's not the easiest.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
they're going to get shot to bits trying to get there.
You've got to get through many other systems first.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it sounds like if you take one out, they produce a lot of surplus as well.
Yep.
What it sounds like.
Yep.
Otherwise, I imagine that would have happened already. That would be much more prevalent in the storylines, because that would make sense. You'd cut your enemy's supplies to starve them.
But you're right, with the Lord of Silence it happens, and quite right now in the Indomitus Crusade, so the attack on the 500 worlds from the Death Guard, they come through the garden world of Ajax. It's not an agri world, it's a garden world, which is supposed to look at basically very like paradise, but they do get a lot of food from there. The other 2 planets in the Ajax system are agri worlds. So that is definitely something that Mortaran tried to do. And one of the reasons why it came as such a surprise is because if you do look at Ajax, it's actually deep in the middle of, or towards the middle of the 500 worlds. So.
Okay. Now we've got quite a few. We've got a few questions. Let's get through them. I was going to say we could save them, but let's do it.
North, middle, north, that way. Yes, go on, hit me, baby, right. One more time.
Ben Crab.
I remember this guy.
We discussed Ben Crab last time. I've only read the first half, and we figured out what the crab was for.
What?
Because it looks like a
crab,
Carnifex or something. No, really? No. It looks like a
crab.
No. What are the crab robots that the Chaos have?
Crab.
No. Begins with D.
Defiler?
Yes, because it looks like a defiler. There we go. That's crab. Crab. people. Benter, I've only read the first half a dozen or so Horus Heresy books. Did the Night Lords, Iron Warriors, Word Bearers, and Alpha Legion had their own versions of Isfahan 3, where they tried to kill off the loyalist bits of their legions? Were they more successful than Isfahan 3? It really feels like Horus and Pals messed that one up.
Right, let's go through the Night Lords. No, they didn't. They were. See, here's the thing about the Night Lords: 20 legions were created for the Crusade. 18 made it to the Heresy, but not quite, because the Magnus's legion was they had the red flag and they're told to go home and stop playing with the toys. Don't play with those toys, so they're down to 17. And also the Night Lords are virtually dysfunctional by the time of the Heresy, and soon to be and he had done what he'd done to his planet by then. So it was only 16 functional legions by the time of the Horus Heresy, and two of them were about to become, well, one of them was about to become excommunicatus traitoris. Iron Warriors, you know the answer to that one.
Yep.
You do. They blew up their own world. Then
they blew up their own world, which was a bit naughty. I was just before we got to that. I wanted to go back to the Night Lords just quickly.
Right. Yes.
And my brain was so with the Night Lords. This is a little bit of a spoiler as well, but in terms of good and bad and evil, or loyal and heretic, the Night Lords.
There was so much noise up your end right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on outside. Apologies, everyone, if you can hear. Your
end is so noisy.
I've got a noisy end. The Night Lords, essentially, the last act of the Night Lord's first captain was just to turn around and say, "Go and do what you want. Be what you want." They did not have a purge. They did not have. They didn't need to sign up with anybody. They were given the choice, and that's that. Their Primarch was essentially already completely mad.
Yes.
Later, what happens to him, but at that point he was mad. Yes. Iron Warriors have a
mini one,
a terrible moment where I think this is the moment where Perturabo is actually there's a moment where he actually thinks, hang on a minute, what have I done?
Yes.
As he's flying away from the devastation, he basically goes on their home planet. They have a mini civil war, slaughter, genocide kind of thing, and Perturabo is basically like, okay, I've committed to this now, and this was definitely not the right thing to do.
Yes. Kind
of feeling as he's flying away, and that's
next one.
That's rough. Word bearers.
In the first Heretic, he mentions to Argel Tal when he comes back after his 50-year crusade, when he joins back up with Herebus and Lorgar, that there was some purging, because basically Argel Tal comes back to them at Isfahan 5, and they tell him about Isfahan 3, and he's like, say what now? Did we have to purge some of our own dudes? And Erebus said, yeah, there was a little bit of purging that went on, but certainly not to the scale of any of the other legions. So they had a mini purge. Who else?
Alpha Legion.
Alpha Legion? No, they're loyal.
They're loyal? Yeah, I'm not going to argue with that. There's definitely some baddie Alpha Legions, but are they? Are they just doing it as in a longer game because they're loyal? There you go.
Yeah.
Triple D. A number of the Primarchs disappeared into the Eye of Terror / the Warp after the Scouring. Each of the Loyalists that has returned so far has had a narrative hook added. For example, Gilliman's armour he's not allowed to remove because he got the old...
They retconned that.
Did they retcon it? They
can't
retcon that.
He can take it off now.
Why? How did they fix his Chaos
Blade? He just did. He just does.
Okay.
He got better.
One of my favourite bits of modern Warhammer literature, and it's not even that modern anymore, was the scene where Fulgrim lashes at him with a knife, and it's like, yeah, I wanted to. That's great, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, this isn't nice. Anyway, Johnson's come back and he's got that crazy forest walking that I don't really understand it. Weird forest walking ability.
Yes.
What do you think would be the narrative addition for each of the other Primarchs?
Nice.
Or you can think of just one, but which would be the coolest? This is the person who's done it. Triple D, right? Triple D is the offender. Okay. So at the end he says, "What do you think would be the narrative addition for each of the other Primarchs? Or if you want to think of just one, which would be the coolest? And why is it Korax?" Right? If you send... Right, that... Basically, for a while, people did that on every single question they asked. They did a really funny little thing at the end where they put the answer... what's the best Legion? And why is it Iron Warriors? And over and over again. And I got so sick of it that I said, I'm not going to read your questions anymore if you keep doing that. This is a warning, Triple D.
No, this is what happens when you answer your own question. See, I'm not only upset right now, I'm disappointed. And I'm disappointed because I wanted to answer that question. I thought, finally a good one.
Yeah.
We can talk about some... But when you provide a question and then answer your own question, you're out. It's ruled out. So I can't even touch that question, which was such a good question.
I love that question.
I love that. I wanted to answer that one. I think we could have filled up a whole STD on that question. But he answered his own question, so he's out. Okay,
here's the thing. Because we're running out of time now. So someone else who isn't Triple D, ask that exact same question, but don't answer it yourself. And I think I think there's a lot to go through there. I'd love to think about what kind of things these people would have. Fantastic question. Oh, go away, Salt.
He's ringing me.
We've got one last question, and it's abstract. Do whatever you want. It's from John Luke, and it simply says, "How would you spend the day in the Dark City?" And we're going to end on this.
Well, they've got some lovely nightclubs there, haven't they?
Quite BDSM focused, I think. They've got...
No, I mean, you could go and point at the lasers.
Yeah.
Rock out to some Wham. It'll be good.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Have they got like a sort of early 90s goth rock vibe going on there, do you think?
Does that sound like torture to you?
It's great. Well, German industrial techno and trial, like German industrial electronic music is the definition of torture.
Got that. Yeah.
It's just that non-stop.
A Night in the Dark City. Sounds like a BioShock game. I like it.
I'd be honest now. If you're not a Drukhari, if you're not part of the Eldari race, actually, and you I don't think anyone's going to spend the night in the Dark City. I think you're going to be killed in some way or taken away fairly soon after arrival, I imagine.
Isn't every night?
Yeah, it's all because it's tucked away. There's no time. There's no night and day.
I think that's why it's called the Dark City, because it's night.
So you spent when they say, "What would you do? How would you spend the night in the Dark City?" It's how would you spend eternity in the night?
Yeah,
I'd say dead, probably.
Yeah, find the tallest tower and jump.
Yeah, because if you don't do that first, if you don't choose your method of death first, they might do something like do that thing where you just keep coming back to life and dying over and over again forever. So it's better to just quickly get it done.
Yeah. How many renditions of Baby Shark can you listen to before you go insane?
No!
Please make it stop! It's a classic from M2. They loved this.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Baby Shark is the ultimate torture in Kimura, the Dark City. But I think it's time that we get out of... I think we should just go... I think we should leave now. Do you want to leave?
Well, I've got a phone call and everything.
He's got a phone
probably
call.
A good idea. Sultan's wondering what I'm getting up to.
Yeah, I'm gonna go put some lunch on. So
okay.
Yeah. All right, I'll see you guys later. Yeah. All right. Cheers for joining us. Thank you very much. Love you. Bye.
Do I have to press a button, or are you gonna?
No, I'm gonna press the button. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
I'm gonna press the button. I'm gonna press it.
Okay.
Bye.